come about is a paper which not only gives a band-aid solution, a temporary solution to today's problem, but in fact provides a solution in the long run. Mr. Suresh Prabhu has been a person whom I've looked up to as one of the finest power ministers India ever had. He had brought in some outstanding changes in 2002 to 2001, 2002, which had the potential to completely change India's energy future. Sadly, after the NDA went out of power, a lot of populism came into the system.
Right.
And that was allowed to fester in the states. And particularly in the last 6 or 7 years, we found state governments completely going out of control in terms of the power sector and allowing politics to prevail over economics. This time around, what we've prepared in consultation with all the states is a program where we'll help them, we'll handhold them to bring down their losses in the next 3 years to zero, their current losses. We'll address the resolution of the past losses once and for all with a longer period of time through the state government support. And we will support from the government of India to improve efficiency of these companies. We have the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, IPDS, Power System Development Fund.
Right.
Then we are using central PSUs like NTPC to increase their efficiency. We are helping them to bring down AT&C losses. Some of them are 30, 40 and even 50%, down to 15%. We are ensuring that going forward, these state discoms can reduce their power purchase costs. So coal will be available in abundance. We are allowing all sorts of swapping and interchangeability of usage of coal so that efficient plants produce more, inefficiencies are brought down in the system. The effort is don't allow the inefficiencies to be passed on to the consumer.
Yeah.
Let the consumers pay a fair price,
Right.
but not be burdened with the inefficiencies of these discoms work.
You know, I'm glad to hear that, because the finance minister has also been saying that state governments must move towards progressive tariff escalation, and that is going to be a key element of the package that you are working out with the states. But there is a moral hazard question here, sir, and that is, I'm given to understand that one of the solutions will also be rolling over the Discom debt onto the state government's balance sheet. So in a sense, sovereign-backed bonds is one of the solutions that you're actually looking at. So you take the debt off one book, but you bring it onto another. And do the state governments really have the capacity at this point in time to be able to deal with that kind of debt?
Well, out of the 60,000 crore of loss that these discoms did, if one was to look at the total interest outgo of these discoms, it comprised nearly 75 or 80% of the loss. So it's now a situation where the loss will keep burgeoning just out of interest. And ultimately the promoter of a company has to bear the burden of the cross. Yeah. These state discoms are owned by the state. These are discoms which have worked in a sense for the people of the state. So there is no moral hazard at all. In the state government, it's only the reality of this debt being a state debt, being made a de jure reality. Nobody can deny that the debt is there. Nobody can deny that the state government borrowed it. After all, banks lent it to the Discom, assuming that the state government is borrowing this money. In fact, it's so unfortunate that states were allowed to have an off-balance sheet item. For your CNBC viewers, I'm sure they'll appreciate it. It's basically just a way of parking your debt in an off-balance sheet or in a contingent way. I'm only making the reality, the factual reality, a legal reality. Having said that, the benefit of doing that will immediately be felt in terms of the losses coming down by 25%, only because they will now pay a more real interest cost than an artificially high interest cost, which they had to pay because of the risks associated with that debt.
So how soon, sir, are we going to see you move cabinet on this?
I'm off to Washington for a meeting to try and get some more funds coming into India for renewable energy. I hope to see this happen soon after I'm back.
Okay. I'll come back to you on the renewable energy opportunity and how we can perhaps see collaboration with the private sector. But Mr. Parrikar, if I could put this question to you, sir. There's a lot of enthusiasm when we talk about Make in India. There's a lot of interest when we talk about Make in India. At this particular point in time, you look at surveys, very clearly seem to be suggesting that India is the #1 destination when it comes to foreign direct investment. But yet, the money, especially in defense, for instance, hasn't started to come in. And that is because people are still awaiting clarity on the procurement policy. They're still awaiting clarity on the offset policy, for instance. By when do you believe, sir, that we will be ready with clarity on the overhauling of the defense policy and we will finally see big ticket dollars coming into the defense Make in India program?
Getting FDI and Make in India, the timing is not necessarily correlated. We have started the process. Money will flow in as it is required to flow in. Because when you set up a unit, that time the issue of actual fund transfer comes into picture. Expression of interest for transfer of funds or investment does not mean investment comes tomorrow.
Sure.
There has to be actual groundwork for which we are working deeply with industry. We have done all the exercise and I hope it is DPP 2015. So before December month, that is in November.
So it won't become DPP 2016, it will be DPP 2015.
No, it can, in the legislature many times I see Bill 2015, when it becomes Act, the 15 still remain in 16 also. But this won't be case here. It will be in most probably in November end or maybe December first, second week.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear, sir, because this has been something that people have been waiting for clarity on. Sorry, what was that quip on the side?
Subject to objective opposition is there.
Opposition will only come into force in December, so that's when Parliament will start.
DPP does not have any...
Exactly, but if I may ask you this question, sir, and we've been having a lot of conversations with foreign investors, companies from the US, Sweden and a whole bunch of other geographies who are looking at the India opportunity. And one common refrain that you hear from people, and it's not just related to the defense sector, but about policy making in India in general, that because of the trust deficit that exists, our policies are geared towards finding the scoundrel in the pack and going after the scoundrel in the pack, and hence all our policies suffer from that essential lack of trust deficit. Is there going to be an attempt or an effort made when you're overhauling the DPP 2015, sir, to remove that baggage of the past?
You are talking about scoundrel among the pack. The today's trust deficit is to such an extent that they try to find out scoundrel among themselves. So what I would say, the biggest thrust point of the defense policy, procurement policy, or the procedure in 2015 is basically this trust deficit. I don't believe that people have tendency to cheat if you trust them. I had many programs in Goa. Most of them, you ask anyone, they will tell you that they were very easy type of programs. That means you could easily get the benefit by just making few declarations yourself. I realize when you trust people, they respond much more positively. All my schemes, my programs, the money which came back from the loans, whereas I has 97%.
Yeah.
So all was about 90, indicating that if you trust people, they take care that they pay back, they keep their commitments. So you ask people to keep commitment, same way we will be asking industry also to keep commitment whatever it is telling us. We are asking nothing more than, and we'll go by trust rather than mistrust. Finding out a scoundrel in the pack is an exception, and you devise system so that the scoundrel does not have an opportunity to make or take benefit out
Okay.
of context.
Okay. Mr. Prabhu, let me ask you, sir, because you've actually, in right earnest, started the process of consultation with industry to try and bring in reforms as far as the railway sector is concerned. You've got the Kaya Council that you've actually set up, headed by Mr. Ratan Tata. You've set up a whole bunch of other committees that are looking at what you can do to reform the sector. But if I could ask you, and that continues to be the number one concern when we talk about reform, is the depoliticization of tariffs when it comes to railways, which basically means reforming the railway board. And people say that while you're doing a lot of other changes, you're not addressing the key change that ought to be addressed, which is reforming the railway board, sir. Is there a hesitation to be able to do that at this point in time?
You know, just to bring clarity, if somebody can tell me how do you reform railway board, I'll be happy. Then we can compare.
Okay.
You know, basically when we talk about things which really, if you can tell me reforming railway board means A to Z, then I can say, yes, this has been done, this has been done, this has been done. Just to tell you, Mr. Bibek Debroy committee had recommended quite a few things. At least of the 10, 8
You've done.
recommendations I was included in my budget speech. I'll give a few of them.
Yeah.
Because the Bibek Debroy committee came in month of May. My budget was presented on 26th of February.
Yeah.
We said delegation. I delegated all powers to general managers and now to divisional railway managers on my first order of as a minister. That is on 9th of November, not even on 26th of February. Then came the second issue, which is accounting reform. Not only we started it, I declared it, both are chartered accountant, so we passionate about accounting. So we changed it from in a different way, not just changing from single entry to double entry, or from changing from cash to accrual. This is very elementary accounting reform.
Yeah.
We talked about completely changing it from budgeting to expenditure to output to outcome to seamlessly capture the entire chain of events which get into a commercial transaction, to integrate management information system, management accounting, costing and accounting.
Okay.
So that is what we started, and now in the next few weeks, hopefully, I am going to ask somebody to make a make the package for us,
Okay.
which will be like ERP.
Okay.
Fourthly, they also suggested quite a few things. I mean, most of the recommendations have already been implemented. So that is one part. So depoliticization is essentially, we are trying to create regulatory framework, which again was my
Yeah,
budget speech.
yeah.
And now we are in the next few weeks, we'll be able to put it on the website. We'll invite the suggestion. And again, my friends in the opposition, if they agree, we can even get a law passed in the next few sessions. But this is again done. So I personally feel that the railway board, which everybody feels should be a policy-making body, already most of the functions are already transferred to the general managers in a very significant way. So therefore, what is the solution? The railway should be made far more profitable. Railway should be made far more efficient. Railway should be made far more technologically advanced, and all of that should be achieved through various means. So therefore, if you just try to generalize by saying the railway board should be reformed and the railway will be fine, it is really
No,
misleading.
obviously not. But let me now give you the opportunity to try and put your points of view to this audience and ask them for what it is that the government is looking at from the private sector. Let me start by asking you, Mr. Prabhu, from a railway point of view, what is the kind of solutions that you're looking to the private sector for? What kind of collaboration would you expect?
Yeah. One is very clearly something which looks like so basic, but in my opinion very profound and very necessary for the country to change, is could we develop new toilets which will use no water or very little water,
Yeah.
which will be odorless. Could we develop toilets like this? This will be a significant change in the way we develop. So in fact, all over the world, there's a linkage between sanitation and water. So if you can address the sanitation challenge by using less water, it will be changed. And it will be helping the railways as well. Number two, speed is an issue in India. Could we use the least cost option for increasing speed using the present network?
Okay.
Thirdly, how do you actually make railway operation far safer than what it is today? By using signaling and other means of automation, which can bring in the benefit to us. Fourthly, we are now going in a major program, 400 railway stations to be developed by PPP model.
Yeah.
The idea is that in any new real estate development project, 70% of the project is consumed by the cost of land.
Right.
So we are not selling land, as is where is basis. You could go to a place which is the most favored destination of that particular city because it's a railway station.
Yeah.
It's frequented by more number of people, so there is a value addition. Could we develop it by using best of technology? We are using, in all aspects of railway operations, we are using complete transparency. Now, more or less, all our all transactions will be e-based.
Yeah.
Most of the tenders, and by 31st December, 100% of the tenders will be completely electronic platform. Number two, we are doing examination, which was the cause of corruption. We are doing it online examination.
Okay.
We are doing transfers, posting, everything is put as a transparent process. So in that, again, how to increase transparency, something which will really necessary, which our Prime Minister strongly believes that we should try to make our world digital India trans-free. We already started a lot of things which common man needs. Ticketing can be done on mobile. We already started it.
Yeah.
But we can do it even more penetration of this. So many of these issues which common man is concerned about. Could you do that?
All right. So you've given us 5 or 6 requirements that the railways has essentially to do with enhancing efficiency, leveraging the power of technology. Anyone here in the audience, and I know we've got a bunch of alumni patrons, Parag Saxena, Deepak Vaidya, Ramesh Vadvani, Ajit Ranade, Mohandas Pai, Sharad Sharma, Harish Hande. Anyone here who would like to offer their services, their solutions here to the Railway Minister? If you could raise your hands, gentlemen, I will get a microphone across to you. Okay, 2 hands there, Mr. Vadvani and Parag Saxena. If you can get a mic across to them so that we can have their comments coming in to the Railway Minister. Sir, you're in the front, so maybe we could be able to hear you, or maybe I'll have to come down with the microphone. All right. Mr. Goyal has to be excused as he has a flight, but thank you very much, and we wish you the very best of luck in Washington, sir. Thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon. Okay, let me go down to our audience here, and since we do not have a microphone, I'm going to be the walking microphone and get comments in from both Mr. Saxena as well as Mr. Vadvani. Yes, sir.
Hopefully Ramesh didn't have the same question. That's why I grabbed the mic. On one of your points, which was safety, I think the solution is one that you know well, which is the solution of communications have to be better, because that's a solution that avoids accidents around the world. And improving the signaling technology along the lines is going to be the key method to improve that. There's a cost involved, but that same signaling technology can be used for other things, such as communications on the trains themselves, Wi-Fi services and so on, which you see in other examples where accidents are less frequent and other services are possible.
Yes, I'm going to come across to you, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Prabhu, just a second. Yeah.
So thank you. We had 2 power ministers on the panel, a very powerful panel. Since Shereen has asked us whether industry can offer solutions, and railways is the most environment-friendly mode of transportation, apart from the fact that it's public transportation, but we can make it even more energy-friendly by having lighter weight wagons, and I'm referring to aluminum wagons. So we will be, I think we are already doing tests, but this is something that we can take up aggressively.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vadvani. I'll come back to you and then go back to the Minister. Yes, sir.
First of all, it's really admirable to see the energy and passion and the focus on innovation in the railways. I haven't seen it for a long, long time, so it's great to see that. A number of the areas that the Minister talked about are addressable. For example, in the US, I'm aware of chemical odorless toilets, low cost. We would need to, of course, indigenize them to make sure that they work here at the right cost structure. A lot of the things you talked about in terms of automation of systems for the railways, also a lot of available technology, but there's probably a way to make it far less expensively in India. Third is an idea I just wanted to lay on the table. We've got 7,000 or more railway stations. You'll be adding another 400 railway stations. The Prime Minister is talking about digital India. Why can't each railway station be the digital hub for the village or the town that it serves? You've got the space, you've got power, you've got basic infrastructure because you have to. Digital India, once you get beyond the top 100 cities, is going to be all about digital hubs in the villages and towns. Might be great to consider the railway stations as that hub.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vadvani. Mr. Prabhu, you want to respond to the comments and the suggestions that have come in?
No, absolutely. I mean, they're all extremely useful suggestions. First, of course, on safety, probably if you can give me some more details. We have already, incidentally, That was again my budget announcement, and almost 90 of my budget announcements are fully implemented. So one of the implementation was to tie up with all the IITs. We have created centers of learning with many IITs, and now I had a meeting personally with all the heads of IITs subsequent to that, and now we are working in an institutionalized manner with them. So any of such ideas can be very well be put into the system through this mechanism already. On the aluminum, it's a very good idea because the lighter the weight of the bogie or the carrier, obviously that so much less consumption will be there. But on the... No, I agree with you. And also in terms of now, incidentally, becoming environment friendly, we have created a first time an environment directorate to railways. We are looking at all aspects of environment, including changing to renewable energy, changing water audit, energy efficient, LED bulb, more or less many of the things, including waste disposal. That again is a very interesting challenge for India. How do you deal with that? Something which the solution can be found out. And thank you, Mr. Wadhwani, for this idea. I fully agree with you. We really need to work on some of these ideas. In fact, actually speaking, this digital hub, we are already tied up with Google for 500 stations to be developed for the Wi-Fi, etc. So the hotspots will be there, and therefore making a digital hub is an absolutely idea. The idea is to make it a digital hub. Idea is to make it as a hub for skilling. Idea is to make it as a market for so many things that can happen in the station. In fact, another passion is SMEs, and just imagine that SME's biggest problem in India is finding space for office because space is so expensive.